yourself this question. More time is it? Game time! More time is it? Game time! More time is it? Game time! More time is it? Let's go! We ready! We ready! We ready! We ready! I'm going to the house! I'm going to the house! When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Football is getting hit. That's it. It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We ready? I'm going to the house. I'm going to the house. We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up the chin straps. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Don't disrespect the game like that. There's too much crying from him. He's a man. He can be a hit just like us. He's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. I'm proud when you step on the field, man. That's who I did. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We ready? I'm going to the house. I'm going to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
We started organizing. We were able to bring more than 250,000 people to march in Washington. And we all had to prepare a speech. I was very young, 23 years old, had all of my hair and a few pounds lighter.
I have the pleasure to present to this.
When A. Philip Randolph said, I now present to you young John Lewis, the national chairman of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee.
Brother John Lewis.
I looked to my right. I saw hundreds and hundreds of young people who had been involved during the early days. Looked straight ahead. I saw this sea of humanity. Then I looked to the left. I saw young black men and young white men up in the trees, trying to get a better view. And then I said to myself, well, this is it. And I looked straight ahead again. And something said to me, go for it. And I opened my mouth and I started speaking.
We march today for jobs and freedom. But we have nothing to be proud of. But hundreds and thousands of our brothers are not here. But they're receiving starvation wages or no wages at all. Those who have said be patient and wait, we must say that we cannot be patient. We do not want our freedom gradually, but we want to be free now. The time will come when we will not confine our marching to Washington. We will march through the South, through the streets of Jackson, through the streets of Danville, through the streets of Cambridge, through the streets of Birmingham. We must say, wake up, America, wake up, for we cannot stop, and we will not and cannot be patient.
That's just a little bit from the late, great Congressman, civil rights leader, just a man that literally we men should all strive to be like, one who dedicated his life to fighting and sacrificing so that others could just have the same opportunities, same rights, same chances in life as everybody else. That is the voice of John Lewis, who, excuse me for getting choked up, but who went home to be with the Lord over the weekend. not only him, but also legendary civil rights leader and pastor C.T. Vivian died earlier that morning. So this show today is definitely going to be in memory of and in honor of him, because literally without him, without Martin Luther King Jr., without C.T. Vivian, without others, David and I wouldn't be able to do this. David and I wouldn't be able to do this if we couldn't sit in the same restaurants, at the same counters, use the same bathrooms, and drink from the same fountains. We wouldn't have been on the same. Excuse me. That ain't Rona. That's gets just swallowed the wrong way. We couldn't have been on the same airways. So, David, just played a little clip from Congressman John Lewis, and like I said, we're gonna be doing that throughout the show today. One thing I know about you, brother, you know a lot. You've researched, you've experienced. Your father has prepared you with a lot. Memories, thoughts of John Lewis?
I think that the thing that inspires you most about John Lewis is we have to understand how impressive of a person you have to be for Martin Luther King to take you as a college kid basically and say, I need you on the front lines with me. Right. Like, which one of us at that age would have been ready to accept that mantle? Not many, if any. And then to be able to literally put your life and body on the line over and over again, to take the beatings, to take the injustice, to take the disrespect, to take all those things, and to get up the next day and do it again. It's easy to be committed for a minute. It's easy to commit it for a week, a month. Yep. He lived it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he lived everything every day until he died. Every day of his life was about improving the conditions of people, particularly his own. And, for all the disrespect that he's gotten over the past few years from this administration, from the disrespect that he gets just in us not talking about his legacy enough while he was alive, and understanding what we had living amongst us. When you make the list of greatest Americans, you have to put him on this list. I would say, to me, MLK is the greatest American that this country has ever produced because of what he sacrificed and what he did. But John Lewis is on that list. You know what I'm saying? Like, to deny him just by the spirit of force and the fact that he turned where a lot of people stayed outside the arena afterwards and wanted to work outside. He said, I'm going in the system and I'm going to upend it in certain ways. And I'm going to be that constant moral center. And like he said, get into good trouble, get into the trouble that makes the country uncomfortable, that makes it move forward. Because, like, as we always, the old saying goes, you can't have a pearl without sand agitating, the clam. It don't happen. The oyster. So, I mean, that's what John Lewis was, that irritant that turned into a pearl. And that's what each of us is striving to be, especially during this time. So to lose him is a reminder of that this don't happen quickly. And B, that it's eternal vigilance is the price that you have to pay. You have to live it and walk it.
Yeah, David, I mean, literally to the day of his death was still fighting for rights. The voters' right bill that is still sitting on Mitch McConnell's desk, that still has not been, voted on, ratified, and sent to the president for voting. John Lewis was still fighting. And when I got the message that night, man, I cried, because I was asking myself the question, now what? Now who is there to pass the torch? And it's been sobering all weekend long to say, hey, guess what? Don't be looking for who else it is. You get your butt out there and make sure you're carrying the torch. And if somebody else has a torch, make sure that they can carry their torch. But it's on us now. He showed us the way. Him, Martin Luther King, Reverend Lowry, and Andrew Young, and C.T. Vivian, and many, many others. Hey, man, it's us now. It's us now. And it would be a sin for them to bring us this far, and then we say, all right, well, this is as good as it gets. This is as good as it gets. You know, there's still grandmothers that deserve more. There's still grandfathers that deserve more. There's still young people, you know, that they're trying to send back in schools when they themselves won't even have face-to-face meetings that we have got to fight for. And if we don't do it, then guess what? Shame on us, because we had the John Lewises, the Martin Luther Kings, the Malcolm X's, the Emmett Till. I mean
Medgar Evers.
That's who. That showed us the way. So we got to do it. I hate to do it. Got to take a quick break. We'll be back with more right after this on the lunch break.
To me, you don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-961-2730. 800-961-2730. That's 800-961-2730.
I'm Linda J. We all know Election Day is just around the corner. We want change. We need change. We can be the change. Exercise your right for change on Election Day. Don't talk about it. Let's be about it. So let's roll to the polls in record numbers, and we can make that change. This message is approved by KYOK 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOKradio.org.
Having trouble getting focused? Getting your to-do list done?
Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
KYOK 1140 and 92.3.
That last one.
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
It's life-changing.
It's called to inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker,
Come in, baby.
Sylvia Cole. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK, 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOK.org.
I'm Ben Tankett, and you are listening to The Lunch Break.
You forgot your cord?
All right, y'all. We're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Thanks, Brian. We'll get you next, man. We'll come to you next. But anyway, it is Media Monday, and we are starting this show off in honor and memory of late great Congressman and Civil Rights leader John Lewis, and of course in honor of C.T. Vivian, who also passed over the weekend. So, of course, I got David Grubb with me, host of Hard in the Paint. Is that your daughter?
Yeah, I just wanted to say hi. Come here. Get behind Daddy.
Move your head out of the way, bro. Let us see. About. Hey, love, how are you?
Hey. Say hi to everybody, baby.
I said hi.
Hi. Thank you. Good to see you.
All right, Natalia, you can go sit down now.
That's horrible, man. That is horrible. In fact, take the headsets off, give them to her, and we're going to roll.
She'll talk to you. She got plenty to say, too.
Oh, man, that's all right, David. That is all right. So, again, man, I mean, look at the life that you have right there that you've been given the responsibility for, man. We got to make sure we're giving all of these children, not just our own, but all of them out there, the best life possible. And we can't keep letting them get sucked up in the system. We can't let the media define them as thugs and mobs and animals and all of this. It's funny when somebody black commits a crime, they're an animal or a thug. When somebody white commits a crime, they've got mental health issues and a troubled childhood and all that kind of stuff. Bruh, not gonna do it. Not gonna do it. Not going to do it.
No, not, the thing that we try to stress with Natalia all the time is do not let other people define you. There is no way that anybody knows you better than you know yourself.
Yep. And
we tell her all the time, your job, the only job you have in life is to be the best Natalia Grubb you can be.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we just reinforce with her constantly. I love the fact that she is interested in the same kind of the things about our struggle. And that she's interested in other people's struggles too. She wants a fairer world, and that's what she wants to be a part of. Since she was a toddler, she's been like, "Daddy, can we help this person? Daddy, can we, make sure like every time she's like, Daddy, give $1 to that person." I said, "Yes, ma'am, I got you." Yep. But she's always been empathetic, and to have that from a child, and children are born that way. Right. They are born empathetic. They are born waiting to understand themselves and to understand others. And that's our responsibility, is to teach them that fundamentally we're not different, that we want the same things. We want to have security. We want to have love. We want to have a decent place to stay. We want a job that fulfills us. Right. And however that manifests. And so she will sit at the table and have the same discussions that I'd have with other adults, because she wants to learn.
That's outstanding, man. That's outstanding. That's a testament to you and your wife. Great job, man. Great job. And I mean that sincerely, brother.
She's fortunate. And I'm fortunate to have the family that we have, that it was always prevalent, that those discussions were always part of who we were as a family. And like my wife, for the first time this weekend, she watched I Am Not Your Negro, James Baldwin. Yeah. And, it's just, she was shocked at some of it, because she's like, how prescient it was, and what he was saying, how it's still so relevant today, how he predicted things that have come to pass just simply because of his awareness of what America is and has not been. And so I think that's what we have to remember, is as long as we focus on the realities of this situation and don't get caught up in romanticizing the past or romanticizing what the future might look like, we got to understand this is going to be up to your elbows in dirt to get this done right. And that's the legacy of John Lewis, is you got to get your hands dirty. If you're not willing to put yourself on the line and lose something, then it's not going to change. Right. That's the truth right there. That boycott of the bus system lasted over a year. And I say it to, my children and my friends and my family, when they say, "Oh, I know we buying black right now, but I slipped and bought." I say, "Hey, listen, back then they said I ain't riding no bus. If they had to walk, if they had to catch rides from each other, if whatever they had to do, they were committed. They weren't riding the bus for over a year until change comes. So every time you decide you're not going to stay committed, guess what's going to happen? It won't happen." And you talk about, look at the people who had to do that. That's primarily at that time service people. Black folks going to jobs where they were going to white folks' houses to clean. They're going down in the city to work in restaurants. These are not people who needed extra time out of their day because they were working physically, because there were only so many middle class jobs that we were talking about then. And there ain't no factories in Montgomery, Alabama, if you ever been there. It's not a big industry. So most of those jobs were service jobs. And those people worked hard and had to walk home every day. Or like you said, you ride share. They invented Uber. You know what I'm saying? So like the commitment of the everyday person. It wasn't the wealthy. It wasn't. It's the commitment of the everyday person that makes the change. Yep. Yeah. I watched again 2 times the Hidden Figures, and those women carpooling together and waiting for each other for hours so that they could make sure that they all got where they needed to be, because they realized that chance right there was as rare as it came. And nobody was going to lose a job because they were late. Nobody was going to lose a job because they didn't have a ride. Nobody was going to depend on anybody else but them to get that done. That's the same thing with us. That's what congressmen and civil rights leaders like John Lewis and C.T. Vivian and them, that's what they taught us. If we don't do this, we can't expect anybody else to do it for us. And the one thing we have to be careful too is you already see people that fought against what John Lewis was doing now trying to praise him. And it's the same thing with Martin Luther King. It's the same thing that we see with black leaders over and over again. The minute that they die, then the first thing you do is water them down and make them acceptable to everybody when they stood against certain things, when they were legitimately angry about certain things. And so immediately people are going to start, Trump, Pence co-opting John Lewis's legacy when they have done nothing but try to destroy it. And it's the same with MLK. Every year we get white folks lecturing us on what MLK really would have done and what would have made him proud and what would have turned him over at his grave. Yep. And it's the same people who hated him while he was alive. Right. So it's just like, you cannot define our heroes for us. You cannot define our warriors for us. And you cannot co-opt them when you were standing in their way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't mind conversion. My faith is based on conversion. You felt like, you lived like, you act like this at one time in your life, but something happened and you realized that there was something bigger, something better, and you made a decision for that. I have no problem with that. But like you said, when you try to fight against it and then define it, that's not conversion. That's control, manipulation, and things that we're just not going to settle for. And that's why shows like Hard in the Paint, The Lunch Break, Ralph Cooper, and some of the other shows that are around, Kelsey, Listen In with KNN,
Renee's doing, Renee Washington,
Renee P. Washington,
Sheena Quick.
Yep, Sheena Quick, Vashti Hurt. That's why what they are doing, the young lady I was telling you about that you're about to have on your show, man, she is doing that kind of thing in the modeling industry. She used to do sports here in Houston. Man, let me tell you something, man. If we don't do it, somebody else will define what it is instead of what it actually is.
Absolutely. And that's how you water down the message. That's how you get people to falsify history. And that's what the United States is great at, in changing how people's legacies are and making the strong into weak people and the bad into good.
Right.
And it's been the history of our country, and we have to be very careful right now because John Lewis's legacy is at stake. It very much is. And we will see over the next few months what people do to live in that moment and pick up that mantle. Like you said, are we going to leave it on the ground?
Right.
Or are we going to pick it up and run with it?
Running with it, bro. Running with it. I made the mistake of going over to a particular news source. I won't say who they are. Let's see. It's not Link's news source, but it's an animal. And people literally said these words, man. I would love to see his tax returns so we can see how much money he made off of his people and the constituents for decades in Congress. And I'm thinking to myself, are you literally serious right now? You said, I want to see his tax returns and nothing hit you in your face? Oh, man, I enjoyed it after a while. First, I got mad. And then I start reading it and say, yeah, man, this is fuel for the fire. This is when Muhammad Ali used to do the rope-a-dope. I felt like the more that they were hitting him and punching him, he was getting stronger and stronger. It made me strong as ever, bro. I'm ready to come out of this corner like crazy.
I mean, the hypocrisy. You have a president that refuses to give over his tax returns. Let's see Mitch McConnell's tax returns. Let's see, look, on any side. Let's see Nancy Pelosi's tax returns. Let's see Dianne Feinstein's tax returns. There's so many people. If you want to talk about corruption in Congress, look, and I got no problem calling out black people. John Conyers in Michigan got called out and got taken to the woodshed over what he did in exploiting the people of Michigan and exploiting his position. I got no problem calling black folk out. But I'll tell you this, I know statistically that John Lewis's district did better than most of those surrounding him.
Come on.
So I know that it was better off because of his efforts. I know that. And if I'm not putting anybody up for sainthood. MLK wasn't perfect. Malcolm wasn't perfect. Yep. I ain't ask him to be perfect. Yep. But we take people's pictures in totality. And if the good outweighs the bad, then, that's where you settle on. Right. But whatever misgivings that you have about John Lewis, the stuff that he did outweighs that by tons. Yeah. By tons.
Yeah.
Unless he killed somebody or did something else, you don't come talk to me about his failings.
But bro, you had a dude that ran on. I could walk down, Central Boulevard and shoot somebody, and I'd still get elected. So listen, let me take another quick break. It's a quick one. I'll come back and I want to actually transition into sports because there's some NFLers that are not happy right now. We'll talk about that next, right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
To eliminate your expensive cable bill.
That's how you go check and see if somebody's at the door.
Satellite internet where cable can't go. Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet.
Computer is dying. You didn't bring your cord
with no cable. And the best part is satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day.
Do you?
Yes, fast internet.
You want to use my phone?
Television for a few
hours
a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop
and you
your
can just connect right from her message.
712-8044. 800-712-8044.
I know, I'm gonna give you, but it's at 1:30. So come see me.
8044.
You done with school for today? Okay, so come see me at 1:20, and I'll give you the phone. You just press the button right there. Yeah, you can sit here if you want. You don't want to get any of your stuff? Huh? You bored?
The kingdom of God and his righteousness and
You
all
want to what?
KYOK 1140 at 90.
Do you want to be on the show?
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
If you want to.
life-changing.
If you got an opinion.
To inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker, Dr. Sylvia Cole.
You got an opinion?
Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK. 11:40 a.m.
Natalia says if you got something for her to give an opinion on, she can do it.
All right.
So if you have something, she says she'll talk. She says she's ready.
This is Brian Courtney Wilson, and you're listening to The Lunch Break.
All right, here we go. Listen, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones, along with David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, also writes for CrescentCitySports.com. David, what was it like on Hard in the Paint today? What y'all get into?
I've already done two I did two today, and I got another one this afternoon. So I'm loading up.
Wait a minute, Card is working man in sports. What's going on?
You go when people are available. You know, they say, hey, I can do it at this time. Okay, well then let me get that recorded. So today has been an NBA heavy because, you know, the first exhibition games are on Wednesday.
Right.
So it's been NBA heavy with these three guests. Me personally, my part of it, I've been putting together something on owners because after what came out about the Washington football team and Dan Snyder's culture, I think we really need to have a conversation about why owners are treated so differently.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's Jim Irsay with all the pills in this thing, or we're talking about Robert Kraft and potentially being part of a sex trafficking, you know, at least as a participant, maybe, you know, not as a, these things die. Mark Cuban. And what happened at the Dallas Mavericks? These stories die, but players are saddled with their misdeeds, and some rightfully so. But there's certainly a number of transactions where players are saddled with them either as their reputations or as just it damages them because that's always brought up. But we don't do that with owners.
You know, and I said we were going to talk about the NFL players that are not happy. Let's get into that for a second because, you know, I'm starting to see this Pizzagate thing and the sex trafficking thing with Epstein, and now that his right-hand lady was caught and what have you, and now apparently a judge's son got shot and her husband was shot, and the connection is she just got named to the Epstein case in some way. Why is it that owners don't have those things? When we talk about Jim Irsay, they don't do what they do on TV when you talk about a player who had a problem long time ago. They find a way to work that problem in to their description and the dialogue, but we don't hear that Jim Irsay was stopped, arrested, and should have been convicted with enough drugs for trafficking.
And cash.
And cash. We don't hear that. We hear Jim Irsay's turning it around up in Indianapolis and hired a new coach and, you know, Phillip Rivers and da-da-da-da-da. We don't hear that.
And you think about it. Randy Moss, how much heat did he take for having half a smoked joint in his ashtray when he was in Minnesota? Remember, he got busted, did a traffic stop, half a smoked joint in his ashtray. They wouldn't let him go on that for 5 years. People kept bringing that up. You know what I'm saying? Every time Josh Gordon, something happens with him, nobody acts like it's a problem. They say Josh Gordon's throwing his career away. Nobody said Jim Irsay was throwing his life away
Nobody.
with an addiction to pain. And we could even bring this down to certain players level, because when Brett Favre went through his Vicodin addiction and everybody said he gutted his way through it, he came out on the other side as a better man and all that stuff. But we ain't doing that for Josh Gordon. You said, we even got our own folks, Stephen A. Smith, stay off the weed, and making that man a joke when he has a problem. But for Brett Favre, it was
Peyton Manning. Peyton went to Indianapolis. The other guy went to
Ryan Leaf.
Ryan Leaf was almost sainthooded, after a few years of defeating his addiction and all that kind of stuff. The dude just went back to jail for stealing somebody else's drugs.
Chris Birdman Anderson had that problem. And I mean, we're talking about, the guys, the black, remember when it was, when they basically said the NBA was just cocaine and they were calling the New York Knicks, the New York.
Yep.
N-word Bockers.
Yep.
I mean, like, that was common. And so, but we don't see that on the other side. You don't see people getting talked about for all the stuff that they do on the other side, particularly the owners and particularly white high-profile players. There's always an excuse. There's always a reason. There's always something that needs to be embraced. But for black folks, it's like, see, we told you. You give them an opportunity. That's what they're going to do with it. But you don't see that on the other end. You don't. When Dennis Franchione got fired, remember, he hadn't even been the head coach at Alabama for a week. And he gets fired because he went to a strip club or something, and they fired him for that. Dennis Franchione got another job. They didn't stop him from getting a job. But let that happen to, let's say, Herman Edwards gets caught with something.
Right.
Herman ain't coming back.
Yeah. This is why I brought up the Pizzagate thing. You got everybody calling, Bill Clinton's name. You got everybody calling Barack Obama's name. You got folks calling, the Prince over in Europe. You got all these other names, but no one seems to want to tie Bob Kraft, who got arrested in a strip joint, in a sting, and nobody wants to tie that to sex trafficking. It was, the man's wife died, and he's an adult, and it's the oldest profession in history. It is a part of sex trafficking. Those
aren't women who made that choice. They are not. Those women didn't make the choice. Those women have been abducted. Those women have no chance of ever getting out of there because you can never pay back what they say you owe. It's slavery. That's what it is. It is sexual slavery. And it doesn't matter how you participate in it. You knew it was wrong when you got there. And on top of that, once they explain to you, because they explain to you what it is, then to me, the NFL should have taken such a hard stance on that. But they protected him.
Yep.
And they're even part of the whole thing of in trying to suppress the records, because in Florida, those things are public record. We should be able to see it. I don't want to see the video personally, but people who investigate it should be seeing it. Right. The people who are punishing should see exactly what his actions are, because this is not a mistake. You don't end up driving from your multi-million-dollar mansion to a strip mall across the bridge to get to this place, do this, and then fly your helicopter over to the Super Bowl. That does not happen by accident. That is not something that happens on your first time. It's rare in life that people get arrested doing the wrong thing the first time.
Right. Well, here's the thing. The records showed that wasn't his first time going. That was his first time getting caught. So, like you said, first time, that's what we're doing? I didn't want this. You go back, you want this.
No, you know what's involved. There's no secret. Either you are deluding yourself, because there's no way that those women are doing this joyfully. You know what I'm saying? There's no way you can fool yourself into thinking this is a mutually. He's saying, I thought the woman liked me. That's what the statement is. I thought we had a relate. Did you pay her? Then that's not a relationship, bro. It don't work like that. You went there. Did you call her? You got her number? You know what I'm saying? This is it's a BS lie, and you're gonna put it out there, and the NFL's protecting you because they need to protect you, because you know the dirty stuff too.
Yeah.
These owners know each other's dirty stuff.
Yeah. And this is why, David, I say that we can't let other people give us what's important. whenever somebody comes back with what about Chicago? Hey, do me a favor. You get there, start it, I'll meet you there. But don't set my social justice agenda because you feel like that's most important. And again, folks are on this whole sex trafficking thing. Not saying the sex trafficking ain't important, because a lot of the faces of sex trafficking right now are black and brown. So I get it. Those folks think that we're not going to report our missing children. And you got police departments that are reporting them as runaways as opposed to reporting them as being kidnapped and abducted and things like that. But don't tell me that's important when you want to shift the narrative from racism, police brutality, and social and economic injustices against black people, and you didn't bring it up when Robert Kraft was involved in it. When you didn't bring it up when Brett Favre had some issues. Who was the tight end for Green Bay?
Mark Chmura.
You didn't say that about it then.
I was up there in Massachusetts when that happened. Because he's from Massachusetts. So I was there when all that stuff went down. And that glossed over in like a month. It was over in a month. People just stopped talking about it.
It's like what people were saying about coronavirus. It just disappeared. Mm-hmm. It was, and then it wasn't. Yeah. So all I'm saying is you bring up a valid point about ownership being treated differently. You let Robert Johnson, when he owned BET, have a culture of sexual harassment. You let one woman come out. You let two. But 15, and you're now writing stories where it looks like the owner is going to be able to keep his team. It looks like this happened on lower levels and Dan Snyder didn't know about. That would never happen with Robert Johnson. That would never happen with Michael Jordan. That would never happen with any black CEO or owner of anything.
Because don't we always say the buck stops here? That it is the responsibility of the people in charge to know. That you can't say I didn't know. That's what we've held entire war tribunals on the fact that you couldn't get away with saying I didn't know or I just followed orders. You can't do those things. So if you are an owner, it is your responsibility to know the culture. Why haven't you talked to your HR people to know what's going on in your business? Why don't you have some type? If you get no feedback from your employees and nobody's telling you something's wrong, then you know something is wrong. Because I have never worked anywhere with somebody that didn't have some complaints. And I never worked anywhere with women where women didn't have stories to tell. And I never worked anywhere with black folk where black folk didn't have stories to tell. So for you to say it's not happening or I wasn't aware, it's a choice. You chose not to be aware.
Let's go back to recent memory when the New Orleans Saints were investigated for, the bounties. I'm not going to call it Bounty Gate because one of the dumbest.
Add gate on everything.
Add gate on everything, and you're a genius. You're just a genius. I don't know who that person is, but I'd like to meet him because you got a headbutt coming from me. But anyway, when they got investigated, what did they say? You should have known. There's no way in the world you should not have known, and whether you knew or not, you're responsible. So from Mickey Loomis to Sean Payton to everybody under the sun, suspended. Now all of a sudden, it's possible, it's plausible, that they didn't know, that Dan Snyder didn't know. I'm sorry. Use that same brush in the same league with this owner and ownership.
And it's not the first time we've gotten this story out of Washington, because the story about the cheerleaders being mishandled and being abused, that's years old. We knew about that already. And nothing was done then.
Events for them to perform for special season ticket holders, partners, vendors, and investors.
And that's something we have to get into too with sports, is the exploitation of cheerleaders in the NBA and the NFL. Because they only talk to any of them and talk, I only get a game check. I don't get paid for practices. I don't get paid for personal appearances. I don't get a cut of calendar money. I don't get it. They're getting maybe $50 a game and a meal. So you telling me they got to stand out there and do all these things for these franchises and then be subject to sexual harassment on top of that and exploitation, not just harassment, but basically you can tell that there's an insinuation at some point that you can put your hands on these women.
Yeah.
or they are open and available to you.
Yep.
And that implicitness and complicit nature of these owners and doing this to these women, these are crimes. This is no longer just a bad action.
Right.
This is criminal. And if you're not treating it as such, then you're saying it's okay.
That's a culture of sexual harassment. I'm sorry. You know, that's a is the NFL sending someone to these events and monitoring them? If you're not, you're nose blind, because that's a great environment for things to go wrong. And it's been reported that things went wrong at these events. So, you know what, NFL, listen, in the words of the great, laugh with me now, in the words of the great Negro poet, Melania Trump, be best. Be best. I got to take a break on that note. We'll be right back right after this on the lunch break. If you want to get in, 281-453-1000, 281-453-1000. It's the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
My baby. You got out, school went well?
They are buried here. It is a lonely, desolate place, littered with unmarked headstones. No one visits. No one leaves flowers. But it doesn't have to be that way. For as low as $1 a day, you can ensure your family will have the money to pay your funeral expenses. We offer burial insurance plans that pay up to $30,000. Considering the average funeral costs more than $10,000, that's peace of mind for your family. There are no medical exams, your rates won't increase, and your policy cannot be canceled as long as you make your premium payments. Call now to get approved in minutes and ensure your final resting place is more than just a pauper's grave in a potter's field.
800-308-6729. 800-308-6729. 800-308-6729. That's 800-308-6729. Paid for by Final Expense Direct.
Has someone in your family lost a job recently, and now you can't afford your mortgage payment? Or do you have a rental property and your tenants aren't paying you? Quick Cash Offer can come to the rescue and pay you cash for your home immediately. Yes, sell your home and get cash all over the phone without dealing with real estate agents and risking your safety by showing your home to lukewarm buyers. You don't need to lose your home to foreclosure. If you have any equity in your home, we will buy it and give you cash within days, all in a simple over-the-phone and virtual process. Call Quick Cash Offer now before the economy gets worse. Sell a home you can't afford or just don't want.
I'll put it on the screen.
Okay.
800-780-1431. 800-780-1431. 800-780-1431.
I wear it all the time.
780-1431.
You want to write the passcode now?
A new show on the legendary KYOK called
Tutoring, just in case you know.
Yes, that's Saturdays at 1 p.m. Marriage Talk with us. You can call in and talk with us about your marriage questions, engagement, relationship questions. We're here to assist you. Saturdays at 1 p.m.
And that's on the legendary KYOK 11:40 a.m. and 92.3 FM.
Again, I say unto you, if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything, it shall be done for them by my Father who is in heaven. Where two or three are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them.
Matthew 18:19.
And we're streaming live on me, 11:40 p.m. and 92.3 FM.
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
It's life-changing.
It's called to inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker, Dr. Sylvia Cole. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK. 11:40 a.m., 92.3 FM, and KYOK.org.
Brian Courtney Wilson, and you're listening to the Lunch Break.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. Got my brother and my niece, David Grubb, and his daughter joining us over there in Louisiana. He just did a, hey, how you doing? Like, yeah, I love it. right here on the lunch break. He just finished recording a couple of episodes of Hard in the Paint. Got me going off on these owners all of a sudden.
Well, I do want to just make sure for folks who want to hear a great conversation on sports and race. On Friday, my pod episode was with Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf.
Yeah.
As many people call him, the original Colin Kaepernick, and also Steph Curry before Steph Curry.
Yep.
But our conversation was fantastic. The feedback I've gotten from it has been outstanding. People it was real. It was a very real conversation. It was raw, it was honest. And that brother impacts me in certain ways just because this connection that we've kind of developed over the last couple of years. And just, I encourage people to listen to it just because it is so honest. It is so complete. And just, you'll be impressed by the amount of research that he has done and the amount of action that he still takes on behalf of all of us and moving this forward. And I just don't want he's working on, from what I understand, he is working on a memoir. And I just don't want his story to be forgotten because he is a seminal figure as far as sports and activism goes. And it was just a great, great conversation.
Man, I love that you have been one of the voices that has kept his story going and updated us to what he's doing now, because that's definitely one that the NBA, the media, and all those alike have tried to bury and just move on from. And there's no way in the world that should have ever been the case.
Yep, and it's racial and it's religious.
Yep,
it's a lot like Muhammad Ali's story in that regard. Being a conscientious objector on the court,
right,
and saying what you want to say, and going on a journey that has been clumsy at times for him. He'd admitted, you don't always know what you know.
Right.
And that's the sign of an intelligent person is understanding how little you actually do know.
Right.
And to see his growth as a man and have him talk about it to somebody like me, who's not that much younger than he is. He's relatively, we'd be considered peers, but his journey is so unlike mine in a lot of ways but it is still definitively American, it's particularly for Black Americans. Because he said everything from his house burned down, by people who just didn't want him in the neighborhood, to the attacks that he took on because he didn't, want to stand for the national anthem. And even when he stood silently in prayer, that wasn't good enough for people.
Right.
Sure. You want to say something? Baby girl wants to say something real quick. I'm sorry.
Okay. So at school, you know how they make you stand for the pledge, right?
Yep.
I refused to stand for the pledge a couple times, and my English teacher said I had to, but I didn't want to. But it has happened multiple times because people will look at me weird, or they'll say I have to stand, but I just don't want to, because it's not really kind of true, the pledge.
Wow. So you've listened to the words of the Pledge of Allegiance and decided those words don't mean what they say. So you chose not to stand a couple times, and your English teacher tried to force you to stand?
Yeah, like sometimes we'll have short days, and that would be my first class instead of homeroom. And she'll be like, stand up, and I didn't want to stand up, so I just sat down, and then I would get a warning.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Taya. So, Dad, how did you and Mom handle that when y'all found out she was getting warnings for not being able to exercise her First Amendment rights?
Well, I've been down to the schools a couple of times. They have seen me.
Don't tell me they know you down there, David.
They know me. They know when I show up that it's the fire is coming. They know.
Yeah.
And if she messes up, they know the fire is coming in her direction.
Understood.
You know what I'm saying? But when they mess up and they disrespect her, they know where to find me, because I'm coming through the doors and I'm not coming in polite, because you are not messing with mine. You're not messing with mine. And she had a teacher at one point, third grade, that told her, like, when Donald Trump got elected, Natalia didn't want. They made her watch the inauguration, and the teacher kept telling her that she needed to respect Donald Trump. And we were like, no, I don't fly like that in this house. So I came down there the next morning, and I told her, I said, who are you to tell her who to respect and what not to respect?
And what did the teacher have to say? I'm curious. I'm just, for curiosity's sake.
Oh, they tried to push me off campus then. That's when they told me, they were like, you can't come talk to teachers in the morning. I said, oh, okay.
And then in 4th grade.
Yeah, they like to send people over to me. They love that. That was sending over to tell me that that I'm too loud for campus when I get upset.
And in 4th grade, I was in choir, and she looked at my choir, disgusted, because it was mostly a black choir. And she didn't like the fact that I was in said choir because she didn't like me after that incident.
Unbelievable. I am so
my baby keeps it real. My baby keeps it real.
I mean, think about it, because a lot of times we think that racism and social injustice happens to adults. And it is happening in the very place where kids should be educated, protected, encouraged, if for no other reason, the fact that she's using her own critical thinking and own mind, she should be protected and encouraged. But they're literally, bruh. Ooh.
And she knows Natalia is never disrespectful about these things.
I got you.
I tell her, you ain't got to apologize. You don't have to say anything. Whatever you do it because that's what you believe, but don't disturb your class. Don't bother anybody else. You just do what you need to do. And Natalia doesn't make noise. She makes noise as a kid talking in class.
The child.
When it comes to these things, she's not going to disturb anybody. She's just doing what she believes. And I've never asked her. I've never told her to do these things.
Right.
These are choices she makes based on what she learns.
Yeah, David, I keep doing what you're doing. And if you ever need help, you got it. I mean that sincerely, bro. I mean that sincerely. That again is John Lewis right there. John Lewis and Martin Luther King and Lowry and Edwards, those guys, they left from where they called home to go to other places to fight for folks there. And if I can't fight for Natalia to be able to sit or stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, or to make her own poster with as many black people on it as she wants, oh, bro, forget it then. Forget it.
No, she's not having it. And she loves to change up the conversation. And in class, she has challenged many a history teacher, social studies teacher, on what is actually true. Because when she comes home, I'm like, that's fairy tale. And I'll show it to her. I'm like, that's not real. And then she goes back armed with that. And I tell her, that's how you engage. Yep. Don't be disrespectful. Yep. But you say, this is what I know. Yeah. And we talk about that.
Yeah, there's a young man here in Houston that I got a chance to meet. He's now gone off to college, bless his heart, but he was the one that literally changed the textbooks in Texas and around the country, because they tried to write slavery as if it was a workforce, a labor force.
Unpaid laborers.
Unpaid laborers. He saw that, called his mom, and sent her a screenshot of it, and the rest is, as they say, was history. And when I got a chance to meet him, he was saying, yeah, they tried to tell me to be quiet. They tried to bring up old stuff that I did and say, if you don't, da-da-da-da-da. He said, but me and my mom didn't give up because it was wrong. It was just dead wrong. He said, at first it was funny, but then we realized they were serious, so it wasn't funny no more. I said, man, you better come on here with that. Yeah, man. So, hey, keep her going, David. And I mean it sincerely. She got a bunch of aunties and uncles on this show now that's ready to roll when you say hootie hoo.
Hey, when did you say you wanted to run for president? How many years ago was that?
1st grade.
Yeah, she has a platform. She already got a platform. So
come on, man. I already listen. I ain't voting for Kanye. He can't figure out what's going on with Harriet Tubman. He keep getting it wrong with Harriet. I ain't voting for Kanye. He ain't for real anyway.
So I'm priming her for 35 when she gets to be 35 years old, because I said I got too much stuff. I got baggage, baby. I can't do it. So you go run for us all. And so
you do know baggage don't matter no more, right? You know baggage ain't a thing no more, right?
For who?
We going in these doors like, wait a minute, if y'all didn't get mad about him, you not getting mad about them.
We Pullman Porters carrying around our baggage in this country. If you got one piece of luggage, they charging you. We don't get to put it in the overhead bin. We don't get to put it in carry-on. We got to pay for that.
You don't get platinum status in our lives. I hear you.
They charge you for 3 bags if you bring in one.
When I get to vote for her, man. I mean that sincerely. All right, David, we got to talk about the NFL players that are starting to raise their voices under the hashtag We Want to Play. First, it was J.J. Watt, and now he's been several people have joined him in their voice. Let me get Sybil Wilkes on real quick. We'll come back We'll talk about that next. David and his daughter Natalia done got me fired up. I'm ready to march on Louisiana. All right, y'all. We'll be right back right after this.
You having fun? Yeah. Good.
What you need to know today about the coronavirus. Georgia Governor.
You're so poised. I'm on party. You're so poised.
Local governments from issuing face covering mandates. Officials in at least 15 Georgia cities and counties, including Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, had ordered the wearing of masks during the coronavirus pandemic. As Senate Republicans prepare to roll out their next COVID-19 aid bill, Senator Chuck Schumer of New York says he wants to shift $350 billion from an untapped Treasury Department virus relief program to help Black Americans and other people of color during the pandemic and beyond. Another 1.3 million people have filed first-time jobless claims last week in the United States, according to the Department of Labor. And more than 137,000 people have died because of COVID-19 in the U.S., and there are over 3.5 million confirmed cases. Please visit SibylWilkes.com to subscribe to my free daily newsletter. Be informed, be empowered.
My name is Devon McDonald from Jamaica, play with Indianapolis Colts, and listen, you listen to the lunch break.
Representatives, we have a mission, an obligation, and a mandate to fight for each and every American. I ask you, Mr. Speaker, who will stand for the American people, who will speak up for those who have been left out and left behind. Mr. Speaker, I've said it time and time again, healthcare is a right. It is not a privilege reserved for a wealthy few. For what does it profit this body to pass this bill and lose our soul? This bill is a shame. It is a disgrace. Mr. Speaker, today my heart breaks for the disabled, for women, for seniors, and working families. My heart aches for those who are living paycheck to paycheck. My heart mourns for innocent little children whose very lives depend on if their family can pay the bills.
That's just a little bit of the late, great Congressman John Lewis. And again, right up until he couldn't do it anymore, was fighting for others who could not make it happen for themselves. So, man, I thought about that when we were just talking about Natalia. There are young people that we got to fight this fight for, man. And we thank God for the John Lewises and the C.T. Vivians and the Reverend Lowrys and, like you said, Medgar Evers and Martin
Avery Alexander's. Like in every town, there's people that, in New Orleans, we know Avery Alexander.
Yep.
In Houston, there's somebody. In Dallas, there's people there. Wherever there are the ones who are unsung, who didn't get the notoriety of John Lewis or all those other folks who contributed this too. We don't ever want to forget them either.
Absolutely, man. It's so important, man. And we cannot get distracted. With the Kanye Wests. We can't get distracted with, but what about Chicago and black on black crime? And again, we can work on multiple issues at the same time. We can work on sex trafficking and racism and police brutality. And I will agree. I got church members. I got police officers in my church. I know these are good people, men and women, and I know they're good people. But guess what? I'm not gonna lose sight of the bad ones. And oh yeah, by the way, the ones that I know are not that sensitive that they can't hear, Black Lives Matter without having to say Blue Lives Matter. They're not that sensitive. They understand who they are and what their fight is, and they are focused on that without trying to take the attention away from something else.
Ain't no such thing as a blue life. Smurfs, blue lives. That's a Smurf.
I know.
It's a
First Lives Matter, God dog it. Papa
Blueberry, the cereal. That's a blue life, I guess. I don't know no blue people. I don't know nothing.
So. I'm fighting for Papa Smurf, man. His life matters.
Yeah, his does. Sure.
I saw a meme and
not time, baby.
I thought she was getting ready to give me something, man.
You got something? Do you have something? Okay, I'm sorry. You got something. I'm sorry.
Let me hit the top of the hour ID, and then we're gonna come right back.
All right.
1140 KYOK Conroe, Houston. The legend continues.
The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers, who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I got my brother, David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, writer for CrescentCitySports.com, and his daughter, my new niece, Natalia. How you doing, Natalia?
Hi, I'm doing good.
Yeah, what grade are you in now, Natalia?
7th grade.
7th grade. All right. So you're in middle school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I'm just trying to get it right because, baby, they ain't gonna know what to do with you when you get to high school, but you just keep being you, okay?
Okay.
All right. So you said you had something when we were talking about Blue Lives Matter and all of that?
Right. So basically, I was scrolling to TikTok like most children my age do, and now it's really like about Black Lives Matter and stuff that's coming on my For You page. Yep. And it was basically a picture of a girl and her dad is a cop, and it was a picture that said, "My daddy's lives matter." And then it was a comment underneath that said, "Nobody cares about your daddy who's racist, little girl." And it was very funny, and I enjoyed it. But at the same time, yeah, nobody really cares if your dad's a racist and he's killing other people, because like if he's killing other people, that's kind of not legal, even though it's supposed to be self-defense, but it's not self-defense when you're throwing tear gas at children who are doing protests. Yeah.
You did a good job. You articulated yourself well.
Yeah.
Don't be worried.
Okay.
All right.
That's it, man. I mean, again, you're not doing anything wrong. Don't worry about it. You good. We're not talking about you. All right? If you're out there protecting and serving like you're supposed to protect and serve, good. We appreciate you. We need more like you. But instead of having people constantly tell us that blue lives matter, why don't you go tell some of the blue lives that Black lives matter? Why don't you do that? Yep. Why don't you tell them that not every Black person is a threat to your life? Not everyone is going to try to take your life. A lot of these people that are being shot are running for their lives, and they're being shot in the back. They're being shot, breaking into their house and executing wrong, no-knock warrants and things like that. Bruh, those are the ones that we just got to get right. Period.
And the whole argument about the danger that every cop, when they leave the door, they're not sure if they might come home again. Statistics show year after year that there are far more dangerous jobs than being a police officer. You are an athlete, a professional athlete is closer to the danger of a police officer in their career than what a tree cutter, than the closer a cop is to a logger in job danger. So, I mean, like that whole thing is part of the narrative of how dangerous it is when how very few cops over the course of their career will ever be put in a position where their life is in danger. So we sell that as part of the mythology too, of that cops are constantly under attack, that every time they leave their door, it's a danger. No, it's just not. That's just not the truth.
Yeah. Well, man, again, we got to be telling the right story, because folks will convince you that it's the other way around, that they have more to fear from us than we do from them. Because guess what? My life is, if it gets fearful every time I see a cop, and I mean it. I got pulled over the other day, running a little late, and got pulled over, and I went through the motions, hands on, all the windows down. Before I touched anything, I am about to go into my pocket and pull out my ID. I'm about to lean over into my glove box and pull out my proof of insurance. And he's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? I want to live through this. That's what's wrong with me. And I guess I made him feel bad because he didn't do what he was planning to do. So I got a warning. I know. I was like, wait, what? Like, no, give me a ticket.
He was confused. It's like,
I just want to drive off, and he say I evaded arrest. Like, give me a ticket, doc. There's a record that we had an interaction. So, give me something. So anyway, but hey, man, football is the Texans and Kansas City open camp today. Texans and Kansas City open camp today, and there are several players, including J.J. Watt, that are trying to figure out how you opening up camp when we don't have clear cut what you're going to do in case of this, what you're going to do in case of that. They don't know how many times a day or if they're going to be tested. I mean, when they're going to be tested. They don't know what's going to happen with a positive test, especially for contracts and rosters, let alone, do we shut down practice? What do we do? And then guys like Drew Brees are starting to step up. He said, we need football, we need sports, we need hope. The NFL's unwillingness to follow the recommendations of their own medical experts will prevent that. If the NFL doesn't do their part to keep players healthy, there is no football in 2020. It's that simple. Get it done, NFL. We want to play.
First, yes, we've talked about this before, and I firmly believe the NFL's failed as far as putting these protocols together, because we talked about just training camp, where players going to live. How do you isolate them from other people and the contact with their own families and the general public? We haven't seen that. Camp star Pat Mahomes said something too. He spoke out about it. And the NFL can't keep messing with Pat Mahomes. This is second. You got Pat Mahomes speaking out twice in the same summer after he won the Super Bowl and he just got paid the biggest contract in league history on paper. And you keep making that man upset. That's the future of your league right there.
Exactly.
And you making him upset. JJ Watt, Drew Brees on the downside. They're on the other side of the mountain. Pat Mahomes is still rising, and you're going to get this dude, and there are other players, who are coalescing behind these guys, and they're absolutely right. The danger is higher for them already being on the field alone. Just that, their danger is higher. Their body mass, we talked about that. That makes it more dangerous. And now you have no protocol. Yeah. When the NBA, Zion Williamson leaves and goes home, and they tell him you got to get tested before you come back, and then when you come back, you got to be tested. And then on top of that, there's a quarantine period again for you.
Right.
NFL has none of that.
Right.
And baseball, they still haven't gotten it right, because you just saw Toronto, they can't play in Canada. So, I mean, these leagues who have had months, even to at least put a framework in place to put in front of the players. We had an NBA player tell me yesterday, actually, that the thing that was so good about the NBA at least in dealing with this was that the players were at the table from jump.
Okay, all right.
Got to either understand or ask their questions every step of the way in putting these protocols together. The other leagues have not done that.
Mm-hmm. What's interesting, you talked about Pat Mahomes, top quarterback, face of the league, the second best, arguably the second best quarterback, definitely second highest paid in the league. Russell Wilson says, and I quote, "I'm concerned. My wife is pregnant. At NFL, training camp is about to start. There's still no clear plan on player safety and family safety." And he's got the face palm emoji. And he says, "We want to play, but we also want to protect our loved ones. Hashtag we want to play."
I mean, again, you look at Drew Holiday for the Pelicans. His wife is pregnant with their second child. She also survived their last birth. She had both difficulties with the birth itself, and she had a brain tumor. So she had to have surgery while she was pregnant, and Drew had to deal with that. So she's already been immunocompromised. He had to make that. He wouldn't have made that decision if he didn't feel comfortable with what the NBA was doing. So when players are saying that they're not comfortable, that tells you that there's a real problem, because even in the NBA, they know that there's a danger. But when guys are telling you for their own personal situations now, they're letting you know how little is in place. And like I said, you cannot have a contact sport and not have these protocols in place. Baseball is one thing. Basketball is one thing. But you can't have 75 guys on a field on both sides hitting each other for hours upon hours, sweating together, sharing towels, sharing water bottles, sharing locker room space. No, it cannot work that way. It cannot. It's not even a consideration of it working if you don't have the protocols in place.
Yeah. When I look at the names of the people that are speaking up, you've got, like you said, Russell Wilson, we got Pat Mahomes, you got J.J. Watt, Zach Ertz, you got
Mike Thomas,
Jarvis Landry, Byron Jones, Stephon Diggs, Larry Agbaji. When you got Myles Garrett, Bruce Irving, when you got all these guys speaking up that don't normally get into these kind of conversations, if nothing else, it should make you step back and say, all of them can't be wrong. All of them can't be complaining. All of them can't be divas. So when do we take a step back? Got to take one more quick break, and then I want to share a question that Keith Hennick brought up about rookies and undrafted free agents. We'll do that next, right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. If you want to get in, 281-453-1000 or text me 832-403-5005.
Person representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Are you one of the millions who have taken Zantac or other generic versions of this popular drug to help treat stomach issues? Then pay close attention to this message. The FDA said it detected low levels of a probable cancer-causing chemical known as NDMA in Zantac and other generic forms of this popular drug. They've banned sales and even removed it from the market. If you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've taken Zantac or a generic equivalent, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And there's no upfront cost to you. They only get paid if you win. So please call now. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. That's 800-251-7816.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 800-961-2730. 800-961-2730. That's 800-961-2730.
I'm Linda J. We all know Election Day is just around the corner. We want change. We need change. We can be the change. Exercise your right for change on Election Day. Don't talk about it. Let's be about it. So let's roll to the polls in record numbers and we can make that change. This message is approved by KYOK 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOKradio.org.
All right, last one.
Having trouble getting focused? Getting your to-do list done?
Seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you.
KYOK 1140 and 92.3.
Beautiful people, this is Major. This is why I love you on the lunch break.
All right, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones, along with David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint. Got his producer, his agent, his manager, his Y, all that right there. And Lady Natalia,
we appreciate step out. We lost her now. She had to step out. She got something to do for school. So,
hey, bro, you know what I'm saying? I ain't mad about it. I'm surprised she ain't got something to do for the world. You hear me?
That's coming. It's coming.
Absolutely, man. So Keith Hennick had a good question to what we were talking about with the protocols for health and safety in the camps. He says, what happens to rookies and undrafted walk-ons and things like that? So he's talking about the undrafted free agents and then walk-ons in college when there are little to no protocols in place for health and safety.
I mean, we're still talking about a rookie class that hasn't been signed yet, for the most part, by most teams. And if you are an undrafted free agent, or if you're a guy who's getting a shot at a team, yeah, I think, part of the discussion has been, what are you going to do? Or is there going to be some type of payment in place for those players? And what is their financial protection going to be? Because, yeah, if you're an undrafted guy and you contract coronavirus and you can't ever play again, what have we talked about? Liability. And I'm having another this week. I'm having a sports attorney come on because those questions are still so prevalent about liability and college in particular too. Because you see, I love the keep politics out of sports, and yet these coaches are meeting with the vice president and meeting with these governors and stuff and saying we have to have football. And I find it immoral that you're putting the burden of an economy on the backs of kids and black people. I mean, that's what you are basically doing. It's saying that if you don't get out there and perform, you're hurting the country. And I don't think that that's right. And there's still no protections on the college level, not consistent. And there are no protections for, let alone the star players. But like you said, the average guy who's just trying to make it, if there's not some level of financial and physical protection for you, no, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. I think a lot of coaches are going to be impacted by that when guys are saying, I'm not coming, particularly the ones who have the highest risk, those guys who don't have any guaranteed money on the table. Why? Why would you take that chance? Because you ain't going to be able to cover the medical bills if you get it.
And see, I don't think people understand that not everybody in the NFL makes millions upon millions. So it's
most don't.
Yes, the lame argument of, oh, well, what'd you do with your money? And oh, you don't need health care, you can afford it. No, and it's just not true. There are more people on the team that are not making that much money so that a Pat Mahomes can make what he's making, so that Russell Wilson can make. J.J. Watt, there's not everybody on the team can make $17, $18, $20 million, and he's been carrying that salary for almost a decade now. So, all I'm saying is that if there are not protocols in place and plans in place on your job, and you know what you're going to do if you get sick, and you know how you're going to afford it if you need long-term care and stuff like that, why do you think these NFL players and basketball players and baseball players are any different? They are not. They're human. They still have lungs and hearts and brains and let alone families that can be affected by the decision that they have to make.
Do we deny welders workman's comp? Do we deny them protections? That's why we have OSHA. That's why we have these people to come and inspect the safety of workplaces and all these things. Why would sports leagues be exempt from that kind of scrutiny to make sure that you have a safe workplace? Why should that just be up to these private companies that receive public aid in a major way? Why should they be exempt from oversight in making sure that they have safe working conditions for their players? That should not be the case. These facilities are still workplaces and they should be treated as such. And so if you don't have those things in place, if you don't have some type of system in place to protect people from being hurt on the job, even when like they can say, well, you signed up for the NFL, you could get hurt. Well, a welder knows he could get burned. A welder knows something could happen. A mechanic knows a car could fall off the rack. That doesn't mean they're not entitled to protection because something could happen or the possibility exists that it's more than likely that you could get hurt on the job. That doesn't mean you don't protect those people.
Yeah. Stan Norfleet, who used to play in the NFL, was in front office in Washington, believe it or not, and other places, was on another show today, heard him driving in. He said something very, very profound when your boy, and I'm going to keep that's just your title. When your boy asked him the question, where is he with, football starting? Do you think it'll start college, pro, whatever? And he said, do I think they'll kick off? Yeah, I think they'll kick off because, first of all, it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. He said most folks don't understand that on a game day, they make tens of millions of dollars on a game day. He said Jerry Jones is probably pulling in about $23 million a game. He said, so that's too much money for owners and the league to just walk away from. And then he said on the other side of it, where else can a young man make that kind of money? And do they understand the risk? Yes. Do they want to take the risk? No. But it gets down to a point where else am I going to be able to go and make this kind of money? Therefore, you find people making decisions that many of us would not make just to be able to get through and do what they have to do. He said, do I think they're going to kick off? Yes. Do I think that they're going to finish? He says, I got more concern about them finishing than I do about them kicking off because the money's going to make them kick off.
Yeah, the NFL is not going to stop. Now, colleges may get stopped by forces bigger than they are. He said governors or health officials or whatever, depending on how the pandemic goes. but the pros are going to try. They're going to, at the very least, they're going to try to get it going. But I think it is a misstatement to say that everybody understands the risk, because we don't understand the risk. We're still dealing with, we don't know the long-term ramifications of this. We don't know the short-term ramifications of this. We're not even 100% sure if we got medical community saying there are plenty of people who now have caught it a second time. Yep. So if those things are possible, we are too young into this to understand the complete science of it. Remember, I mean, the last major new thing that came on the scene was when we had HIV. And that's when we were talking about, don't touch people, you might get it. Don't be next to them, you might get it. Don't kiss them, you might get it. All those things.
Don't eat after them. I remember.
So we need to let the science do its work. So to say that anybody truly understands the risk is false. Just like it was false 20 years ago if you said football players understood the risk, because they didn't understand what CTE was. We didn't even know about it.
And you had an entire league that had a campaign that they were learning was not true. They literally said there was no damage or risk to head injury. And all of a sudden, we find out that they were hiding the science that was showing that there was.
And that was cigarettes.
Yeah.
And cigarettes. Doctors were saying cigarettes were safe.
Bro.
Remember, we had doctors on TV smoking. So we knew, even then, the tobacco industry knew the science. That's why they ended up with that $1 billion settlement to take care of all the issues, because they had been lying for all those years. So to trust these bodies to do the right thing when we know historically they have never done that. They have never put the safety of players first, that businesses have not put the safety of Americans first when they're trying to make money. Why would you trust them to do that now?
Let me do a quick public service announcement. Vaping is smoking. Don't convince yourself that you're not smoking because you're vaping.
Right. It's smoking.
And oh yeah, by the way, Dwight Howard is not a medical professional. Neither is the president of the United States. So if you're going to listen to them for medical advice, you are doing it at your own risk. If you don't believe in vaccines, so be it. But the statement of, I know that Rona was out there jumping around, flying around, looking to jump on people. Come on, bro. There is too many ways to get educated today. And never mind. I'm trying to be nice as a black man, and I don't want to tear him down. But all I'll say is vaping is smoking. The president and Dwight Howard, neither of them are medical professionals.
No, I don't know much. I'll take advice from Dwight on rebounding and shot blocking, but that's about the extent of what I would give him. He's already been on the snitch line for not wearing his mask.
He snitched on himself.
I mean, so it's like, come on, Dwight, get it together, bro. I don't think the rest of his teammates are gonna be dealing with this for much longer as far as him walking around like that.
I was gonna ask you about that. Let me take one more quick break. And then when I come back, I'm gonna ask, how long before LeBron says, yo, bro? We'll be right back right after this on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all new 92.3 FM.
You're a diabetic. You need supplies, but you don't want to visit the pharmacy. What do? Call US Med for home delivery of your supplies. If you have diabetes and you're worried about going to a crowded pharmacy, pick up the phone in the safety and comfort of your home and let US Med deliver them to you with free shipping. And now if you test your blood sugar 4 more times a day and inject insulin 3 or more times a day, you may qualify to get a new continuous glucose monitor at little or no cost, which may eliminate the pain of pricking your fingers and helps you make smarter diabetes decisions. Plus, we'll send you a 90-day supply and bill your insurance company for you. Get some peace of mind. Call US Med today.
800-417-0851. 800-417-0851. That's 800-417-0851.
How'd you like to eliminate your expensive cable bill forever or get new satellite internet where cable can't go? Well, now you can have affordable satellite internet service for a few dollars a day. All you need is a mini satellite installed, and you can have unlimited internet connections wirelessly in your home or office. And no cable boxes means unlimited connections and no clutter. You can surf the internet or stream any of your favorite television services with no cable. And the best part is, satellite internet service costs only a few dollars a day for your entire home. Yes, fast internet to surf or stream television for a few bucks a day. Call now for free details and learn how to drop your expensive cable bill.
800-712-8044. 800-712-8044. 800-712-8044. That's 800-712-8044.
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
It's life-changing.
It's called to inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker, Dr. Sylvia Cole. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK, 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOK.org.
Yeah, this is Jonathan Joseph with the Houston Texans.
All right, y'all. We're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones, David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint and writer for CrescentCitySports.com. Dwight Howard, it seems to be taking a lot of the attention. He was one of the main ones that said he wanted to take the attention, didn't want the attention of social injustice and all that to get on the court and all that. But he seems to be taking away the attention from everything right now. How long before guys like LeBron and Anthony Davis or somebody on that team that's got a legitimate shot to win it all, pull them aside and say, yo, bro, chill out for a minute?
It won't be AD. It won't be AD. That's not his nature. So I would imagine LeBron is like, LeBron probably understands this is the last best shot at the championship. Mm-hmm. And he's not going to have one person sidetrack that. You know, if they're going to lose, it better be because somebody beat him on the court. He's not going to let it be because of a mental distraction. And like you said, for Dwight, it's not time for him to be talking about the science of this. Right. You know, the time is if somebody asks you a question, and of course, I've been in these media sessions since this started, and there's always somebody who asks about the virus and its impact. Either you personalize it about something that you're dealing with, you talk about it in the scope of the country in general, but it ain't your time to put an opinion in on the science. Let that be. Mm-hmm. And then the other part that I think too is if Dwight doesn't want to change the cycle on the message, you and I both know this. The question that's asked does not mean that's the answer you have to give.
Right.
We've been in enough press conferences and seen it where you've asked direct questions and the person decides that they're going to answer it the way they want. We watch politicians do it. We watch actors do it. It's just the nature of what you're taught in PR. And Dwight has been around enough people to know that if you really want to keep the conversation about Black Lives Matter and about Breonna Taylor and about these other things, then every question you change it back to that. Mm-hmm. It's either going to be, you can ask me about basketball or we're going to be talking about the liberation of Black people in America.
Right.
And if you wanted to do that, Dwight could do that, but that's not what he's choosing to do.
Keith Hennig brought up another good question. What about Jeannie Buss? She's not saying anything either.
I don't see any owners talking. Where are these owners? And I think the leagues have told them, shut up, because a lot of you are going to say the wrong thing. And so it's let the league office be the mouthpiece right now. And they saw what happened in the WNBA right now, watching what's going on over there. And they certainly don't want to see any owner, whether well-intentioned or poorly intentioned, come out and step on their own foot by saying the wrong thing. So I think they're just trying to let Adam Silver handle the communications on this and let him be the mouthpiece, because I guarantee more than half of the owners would say the wrong thing if given too much time on a microphone.
You're right about that. What's interesting, I'm starting to see reports of the league meeting with players to talk about social justice slogans, but yet you got the league not meeting with the players to talk about health protocols in the NFL. I mean, what we doing? The shirts and the slogans are going to protect these players from Rona. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, well, maybe the Negro National Anthem could protect them from coronavirus. Maybe that'll do it. Maybe in week 1 they'll become impervious because they heard Lift Every Voice and Sing. So maybe that'll do it. I don't know. Since we don't have any protections in place, we just let them out there and they can lift every mask and die. I don't know, but maybe that's the choice, is that they try to get these people. But it's just wrong. It's just unconscionable that you can spend your time coming up with that nonsense of what you want to do performance-wise, and you haven't spent your time on the health protocols. That's number one. That should have been number one. We can't have anything until we have a baseline on how we're going to keep people safe.
Yeah.
That's number one. Until you have that, it doesn't matter how you're going to get stadiums. It doesn't matter how many people get let in. It doesn't matter when the games get played. If you don't have safety precautions at first, you got nothing.
Yeah. Speaking of, Martin Davis done found his throat. He done found the words out of his chest. He said a few weeks back that he is preparing to have his stadium full of fans when they open up their season, their first home game in Vegas. Well, got one of them phone calls. And now he's been told that not only are you not likely to have stadium full of fans for your season opener, you might not have any fans for your season opener. So he says, hold my Fresca. And is now coming out with his chest and saying, if the fans can't come, I ain't going. It's all or nothing. Hold on. Let me ask you a question. Why is Mark Davis even speaking? Why do we even hear your voice? You are one of the owners that should never get a haircut and be quiet. Period. Those two things. I know I'm wrong.
If he said, I'm not coming, what about your players? That's the thing. If you don't have to be there anyway. You don't have to show up at all.
You're going to be in a bubble. You're going to be in a bubble when you get there. The owner's box is not like a seat. You're not going to be sitting in the stands with the fans. So you're going to be in a bubble anyway. So you're going to just stay in the bubble in your house as opposed to the bubble at the stadium?
I mean, because he's going to come to the stadium in a Pope Mobile. He's going to be brought up to his booth, his box by himself. Anybody go, maybe his, close family members, whatever, his inner circle. So he would never be exposed. So if you're going to say it's not safe enough for fans, then you should be telling me it's not safe enough for players. Same way with college. If it ain't safe enough for students to be on campus, then players are students and they shouldn't be there. Otherwise, you're telling me that they are employees. And if they're employees, they deserve protections. And so nobody wants to play that game because you open that can of worms. And I believe this too. There are plenty of lawyers standing around waiting to get to the right person and say, you are an employee and let's do this lawsuit. We're going to do a class action suit against the NCAA and against these universities. We're going to name them all that have you showing up, and we're going to do a class action suit. And this is why I firmly believe you could have no NCAA within 3 to 5 years.
I'm trying to tell you now, David, I'm not even an attorney, but I'm a businessman, and I already see that happening. I already see, like, they are buying the airtime now. Were you forced to play sports by
that coronavirus? Did your parents class action suit a coming?
I'm just telling you. And don't let me get a call from speaking into this microphone, because I'm going to call them and say, yeah, I didn't get it from playing sports, but I got it for talking about it. What can we do?
Yeah, I got it by osmosis because I was talking about some of these athletes, and I got it. So, yep.
I said Rona too many times. What's that when you look in the mirror and you say Bloody Mary or somebody like that?
Candyman. We do Candyman. Gotta stick with brother.
David, it looks like the HBCUs and the Ivy League are the only college level voices of reason. I understand that Grambling and Southern have made some decisions. What are you hearing?
I mean, I think the athletic directors now understand that financially they can't do this. Mm-hmm. We've talked about the HBCU financial situation for athletics. And if these conferences all go to conference-only games, then that leaves the HBCUs out of the payday games. And if they don't get their payday games, they can't afford to play this season. They cannot do it. They will not meet their budget requirements because you take away the payday games, you take away the gate receipts from the folks that do show up, you take away the classics that you could have where those teams were making big money going to Indianapolis, going to Birmingham, going to New Orleans for the Bayou Class. Also, you cancel those, there's no money. They cannot do it. And so I think they also understand that the spotlight is going to be on them more intently too, because these are young Black folks that they have under their care. And this is an opportunity for HBCUs to show how much they do care about their young people. And I wouldn't be, if we don't support them in this, if we don't stand up there and say, because the hypocrisy of it to me is you keep saying, well, we want our football back. It's good for the kids. I ain't heard nobody say that about the band. I heard nobody say that about the debate team. I ain't heard nobody say that about the swim team, the golf team. the lacrosse team, the soccer team, they all want to play. But why is it not important for them? But it's vital to America that we have football. But all these other people who love their sports just as much, who are students just as much, who put in the same amount of practice time, who get out there and work, who want to have their opportunity to have their moment, because there is no, for most of them, there's nowhere to go with this. This is their chance at the collegiate level is all they're ever going to have. They ain't going to the Olympics. They ain't going to the pros. This is it. And they're getting that taken away from them, but nobody's speaking up about that because it ain't about that. It has never been about that. It's about other people making their money, and it's about the rich getting richer. And it's never been about these kids. It won't be about these kids. And even if one of them dies, because we see it when they die of heat stroke, we see it when they die because they've been overworked at camp, we see it because when they get hurt, nobody cares. They step over them and keep playing. And that's what they're going to do to these kids again unless somebody stops them.
Yeah. What's interesting is we heard a lot from Mark Emmert at the beginning of this, back in March. We haven't heard much from him since. How in the world can you be the president of the biggest organization on the collegiate level and we not hear from you? He's not talking about protocols. He's not talking about rules, regulations, procedures, anything. He is literally allowing the conferences, the schools, the universities, the athletic directors to make decisions that should be coming from the top down instead of from the bottom up. And that's why I say I'm giving credit to the HBCUs, and I'll give credit to the Ivy League. They are leading by example where the leader is showing no leadership at all.
Because nobody wants to take responsibility for this. Either they don't want to take responsibility for the financial hit, or they don't want to take responsibility for a potential tragedy. And so Mark Emmert is going to say, well, I put that on the schools, and they're supposed to make these decisions, and they did it based on what their governors and their boards of trustees said. And so it's not on me. But again, like you said, you can't be the hall monitor and watch people running up and down the hall and say it ain't on me. You took that responsibility. You are, like you said, you're the governing body. You discipline people when they break recruiting rules. You discipline student athletes when they take improper benefits. You do all these things. You get up all in there. You can go dig through every nook and cranny to find somebody did something wrong. But you won't do this.
Yeah.
You won't coordinate this because it didn't take the participation of 100 and something universities to get a medical protocol.
Right.
It doesn't take all that. So yeah, you decided to advocate it, and you're letting coaches. The coaches are all speaking out.
Yep.
Because who has the vital interest? I understand Ed Orgeron's position. I think he really believes he's right in saying that because that's the way he's been raised to believe it. But at the same time, he has way more to lose than any one of those student athletes because he's coming off a national championship. He wants to capitalize on it. He's strike while the iron is hot. It may not happen for him very long. And if the season gets pushed back into the spring, and every kid who's a top NFL prospect says, I'm not playing it down because I'm not risking my future for some games in the spring when the draft is in June. Nah. And those coaches don't want that to happen. They don't want that to happen. And they act like, well, these kids are going to lose on their opportunity. NFL scouts know. They know. And they have seen, if you're a junior eligible this year, they know how good you are. And they're going to find out through one way or another. It ain't about those kids. It's all about the adults and the money. And I remember a principal telling me this a long time ago. Schools do not exist for the benefit of adults. They exist for the benefit of the children. And if you ever lose sight of that, you need to get out.
Wow. Wow. You know, it brings me back to when Tom Izzo had his meltdown during the tournament last year, and he was all up in the kid's face. And the kids are literally holding him back from jumping on a kid who had calmed down. And I don't know if I ever told you that Scott Van Pelt and I got into a little back and forth on Twitter. And
I remember that.
Yeah, his folks came for me, and they were trying to, cause all this problem. And, he kept praising Izzo and, all the other players that have benefited from Izzo. And Izzo literally came out after that and said, winning a championship will literally help me, will help me. And he just talked about what it would mean to his legacy and what it would mean to justify the way he does things. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, this is a man that's crying out for help. This is a man that has lost sight of what he's doing and why he should be doing. And it's the people like Scott Van Pelt and Trey Wingo and what was Greeny, not Greenberg, Golick.
Golick, yeah.
You know, these are the guys that glorify these guys to a level where they literally are allowed to lose sight of what's important. If you are not there for the benefit of those kids and partake in the benefit of what they afford you, when they win a championship, you get the benefit of that. But you coach them up to do that, not for yourself to look good, not for your bad behavior to be justified. I'm sorry, when Ed Orgeron made that comment, with the comments that are coming out of Texas, Oklahoma State, the comments that are coming out of Clemson, the comments that are coming out of places like that, they're just wrong. And we're just so used to hearing them and so used to thinking like that, that folks like you and me are like, what the heck is wrong with these people? Other folks will say, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Because they wrap this thing up again and talking about, well, we're giving them tough love to teach them accountability.
That's crap.
And you tell me, what work situation are you in where your boss is going to come in and curse you out and you're going to take it?
That's what I told. That's what I told him.
Dang T.
He told me I was reckless. I told him, you're out of touch. Come into corporate America and grab an employee by their face or grab them by their tie and see what's going to happen to you. It is no longer about you're going to be fired, and then we'll deal with whatever discipline issue is necessary with them. But, you know, for some reason, sports gets a pass on bad behavior.
And we've seen the coaches who know how to look. John Thompson is one of the toughest people I ever met.
Yes,
but I never saw him embarrass somebody on the court.
Eddie Robinson, same thing.
John Chaney.
Yep.
That's a tough son of a.
Yeah.
I never saw him embarrass somebody on the court. Now he yelled off the court.
I saw him almost fight John Calipari, and he should have. I saw that. But he wasn't going
but I never saw him embarrass his players on the court. John Gagliardi up in Minnesota won the most games in college football history up until, Paterno and Bowden passing by. He didn't even put his players in pads on a day-to-day basis. John Wooden wasn't a yeller. You know what I'm saying? There are plenty of people who can win without embarrassing you. You can hold people accountable without demeaning them. Like everybody thought Bob Knight for all those years was a genius. Yeah, you understand the game, but you don't treat people that way. You don't have to. Dean Smith didn't treat people that way.
I was one of them. I told my oldest son that if you're going to play college basketball, you're going to Indiana and you're going to learn it right from Bob Knight. And then I opened my eyes and my son said, you still want me to go to Indiana? Absolutely not. I got a shout out to Dr. J, Jennifer Tebow. She's tuned in. Jennifer, we got to have you back on the show, Dr. J. Big shout out to her daughter, Liz. Her daughter, Liz, is heading off to Pacific to be a basketball player there. And that's my niece. And man, look, I already got my Pacific shirt. Soon as that season starts, I'm all in. So
Olo Candy was the last big time on the men's side. Didn't Michael Olo Candy go to Pacific?
Was it Pacific or was he on the East Coast? I'll look it up.
I believe Olo Candy was Pacific. I might be wrong.
No, it's okay. I'm gonna look it up. We're gonna check it out right after this on the lunch break on the Legendary KYOK.
Offer can come to the rescue and pay you cash for your home immediately. Yes, sell your home and get cash all over the phone without dealing with real estate agents and risking your safety by showing your home to lukewarm buyers. You don't need to lose your home to foreclosure. If you have any equity in your home, we will buy it and give you cash within days, all in a simple over-the-phone process. Call Quick Cash.
I forgot Dell. Our former GM down here went to.
You can't afford or just don't want to get the cash you need today.
800.
Dell's wife is a true. I love Anita Dell. I love that woman.
800-780.
Anytime she says she can't wait. Okay.
That's 800-780.
Willie Gibson said, yeah, Old Candy went to Pacific.
Hey, this is Tori and Terry, and we're with a new show on the Legendary KYOK called Marriage Talks with Tori and Terry.
Yes, that's Saturdays at 1 p.m. Marriage Talk with us. You can call in and talk with us about your marriage questions, engagement, relationship questions. We're here to assist you. Saturdays at 1 p.m.
Coaching on the men's side over there.
Legendary KYOK AM.
That's what's up.
92.3 FM.
Talk to you later.
It's inspiring. It's empowering.
It's life-changing.
It's called to inspire with best-selling author and motivational speaker, Dr. Sylvia Cole. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 11 o'clock here on the legendary KYOK, 1140 AM, 92.3 FM, and KYOK.org.
Hi, this is TJ from South Park. I listen to the lunch break with AJ Jones on 1140 AM and 92.3 FM.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones, got David Grubb, host of Hard in the Paint, joining us right now from Louisiana. Got a shout out again to Dr. J, Jennifer Thibault. She's been on the show several times, and got to get her daughter, Liz, my niece, on the show. She's getting ready to head up to Pacific to be the next big thing in women's college basketball over there. Did not know that Damon Stoudemire is coaching the men's side over there. So listen, I think my first sporting event in 2020 might be a women's basketball game up at Pacific. Might have to do it.
You see what happens. Like, hopefully she gets to play. And hopefully, women's basketball right now, I'm so interested to see what happens with the WNBA.
Yeah.
I'm so interested to see what happens for the college basketball season, because them losing that tournament last year was such a blow. That was going to be one of the great women's tournaments, I think, in the last 10 years. And there have been some really good ones. But I think Sabrina Ionescu in particular was going to go nuts. That girl was going to go nuts.
Yeah. Yeah. What's interesting was the women were the first to kind of put the word out about the environment that they were in down there in the bubble. Some of the men, I just need y'all to stop tweeting. I need y'all to stop videoing and stop posting, but when you got rat traps in the laundry room, you got rat traps under the bed, you got some concoction in a bowl, and they're telling you that's food. It's indicative. It's symbolic of the disparity between how the men are treated and how the women are treated. And I don't care what you say, the women are no less important. Their style of play is no less significant. What they mean to sports and the livelihood of America is no less significant. So treat them right, man. Treat them right.
Look, there are a lot of parallels to be drawn between the fact that, we talk about blacks catching up to whites in wealth and how long that's going to take based on the way the system is now. It's the same thing with women's athletics. Look how long it took for there to be even the appearance of opportunity for women on the collegiate level in the country. So we're talking about the late 60s, early 70s when Title IX goes into effect. And we're only 40 years past that when men have had access going back to the 1800s, of collegiate athletics and professional athletics, going back to the late 1800s, we had professional sports leagues for men and collegiate sports for men. Here we are, women didn't get it for 100 years until 100 and something years later. And now we're acting like we're judging the quality of the sport, which is growing exponentially for women. Every year you see it's no longer where we used to be able to there's 4 good teams in women's basketball, and that's all you got to pay attention to. Stanford, UConn, Tennessee, and somebody else at that time. Maybe it was Louisiana Tech, maybe it was USC, whomever. Now it's so much deeper because women have gotten that opportunity. So continue to make sure that they have support in that opportunity, and the game will get better. It will grow, and you don't need to judge them one against the other. I don't judge cake versus pie. So they both good, they both desserts. I can have them both, and I don't have to get rid of the other. So why can't I enjoy women's basketball and men's basketball?
Absolutely. And let me play the disclaimer real quick, David. Stay right there. Don't say anything.
The views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers, who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
That being said, I want to pimp slap every dumb guy that says, get in the kitchen and make me a sandwich every time somebody talks about women's sports or women's basketball. That's one of the most ignorant, dumb, immature statement that a guy can make. You're allowed to not respond to somebody else's story. You're allowed to not reply to somebody else's tweet. You're allowed to just shut up, be dumb, and let us think that you're smarter than you actually are. And the sad part is these ignorant men, and I'll leave other stuff out of it, these ignorant men in a lot of cases are going to go on to have some type of effect with a woman or on a woman's life, and that's the way they think. I promise you, bro, on everything I love, I want to be the one to take the charge, and y'all just put money on my books, please.
Because give them a daughter who is extremely talented at basketball, who becomes a #1 recruit in basketball, and then she experiences these things and comes home and talks to you, and you've been belittling that sport your entire life.
Right.
You said, rather be quiet and perceived a fool and open your mouth and remove all doubt. And then on the other end of that too is, why does it bother you so much? If you don't like it,
bro,
do something else. Why does it bother you that these people want to enjoy something?
Keep scrolling.
Just move on. If it's not for you, it ain't for you. There's a lot of things out there that ain't for me, but I don't spend my time telling people not to enjoy them.
Bro.
Why? Why do I care that you're happy? Why am I upset that you're happy with something, that you want to see something get respect? I'm mad about that. I'm mad. Why? Why are you mad? And all those dudes who talk that mess, come get on the court with some of these women and talk that mess to them, because I will tell you that there's a good enough number of them that will embarrass you.
Embarrass you. Yeah. So Sister Jen, that's my sister, and Chris, y'all leave it alone. If somebody talk bad about Liz, forward that to me, and y'all just put a little bit of money on my books every week. We'll be good. We'll be good. Don't worry. I will start the prison ministry from the inside out. I'm already
on a phone card and some cigarettes so you can be safe.
That's what I'm saying. I need some currency. I need some ho-hos, some ding-dongs, and some cigarettes so I can have some currency on the inside. That's all I need. That's all I need.
You get prepaid phone cards so we ain't got to take them collect calls. That's the AJ. Do you accept these charges?
That's it. I don't want to run your phone bill up, but I am going to FaceTime you saying, what's up? I'm doing all right. David, we got to get ready to shut it down, man. Baseball is going to start on Friday. NBA basketball starts preseason this week. Football is opening up camps today for the Texans in Kansas City. All players are supposed to report by the 28th. You feel good about it or not? These are the big three now. We ain't talking golf. We ain't talking MMA. We ain't talking Korean baseball. We're talking the big three. You feel good about it or what?
No. I mean, on the one hand, the basketball fan in me, the sports fan in me, and the professional, I look forward to having something to cover and to talk about. But the human being in me, I'm frightened. I'm frightened. And for me to say otherwise would just be lying. I'm frightened for those men. I'm frightened for the support staff. I'm frightened for any number of people because I'm frightened for this country right now. I mean, I just don't, we have no grasp on this. We have no control right now on this. We've wasted so much time in trying to have a handle on it. So no, I'm confident that they'll all start. I'm highly doubtful that any of them will finish.
Yeah. That being said, David Grubb, tell everybody where they can find you and follow you and hear all the great things you're doing on Hard in the Paint.
So you can go on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and check out Hard in the Paint with David Grubb. Please subscribe and please rate. And also at DM Grubb on Twitter and Instagram. And you can follow on Instagram, HITP with D Grubb. And please go to the website, hitpwithdg.com. Get you some gear, look tight, represent, and have some. And I'm just keep it rolling. I got more articles coming out this week, and some great interviews, and we just gonna keep doing it.
We got all that posted in the body of the show. So click on any of those links. You can follow what David Grubb is doing. You can follow what Kelsey Nicole Nelson is doing. You can follow what Vashti Hurd is doing, and also got some nice restaurants on there, Black owned, Black operated, and good stuff. So be sure to check them out. Again, our sincere thoughts and prayers go out to the family, the friends, those who have been affected by the lives of the late great Congressman John Lewis, and none other than Reverend C.T. Vivian. And again, y'all, we got to keep the fight going. The torch has been passed. Don't look for the next. You be the next. All right? David, thanks, man. We'll talk to you again soon, bro.
Yes, sir. Talk to you Wednesday. Thank you to all of y'all.
Yes, sir. All right, man. David Grubb, Hard in the Paint, CrescentCitySports.com. Y'all keep him followed, keep him laced up, and go out there and see what he's got going on. I'm going to get out of the way. Sybil Wilkes is up next with her coronavirus update. After that, it'll be Donnie McClurkin with the Donnie McClurkin Show. He'll give you the best in gospel music, the latest in the gospel music industry. Donnie does his thing every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3. Tomorrow, you got Erica Campbell and Griff Get Up Mornings. And then Dr. Sylvia Cole with her show will be on tomorrow at 11. Then your boy will be back with none other than Team Texas Tuesday. I'll have a couple of surprises for you tomorrow, so definitely tune in for that. As always, let's not be united. Let's not be divided. Let's be united. I love you, and there's nothing you can do about it except wear your mask, wash your hands for 20 seconds or more, sanitize everything around you, and be sensitive to everybody around you. And I mean that. Give people 6 feet. And when you see that racism, kill it. Not the person, the racism. All right, I'll see y'all tomorrow.
Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know today about the coronavirus. Georgia Governor.
All right, good people. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Another great one from David Grubb. Valencia King, thanks so much, love. I appreciate you. Got to have you back on now that they about to get their stuff going down there in the NBA. And it was interesting to see Mark Cuban offer some advice to the NFL football team in Washington. I was like, ooh, Mark, sit this one out, maybe, just maybe. So we'll get you on to talk about that. Jennifer Thibault, give all the love to the family and to my niece. Can't wait for her to get started. And as always, y'all, thank you. You lunch breakers make it go. So not this, but this. I love y'all. Y'all be safe out there, okay? All right. Talk to you soon.